Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Chris, and welcome back to another top 10 list. I have not made a video in a couple of about 10 days or whatever, however long it's been, or more than that. It's been a couple weeks in general since I've released a video. I don't care. That's fine. This is just my side hustle at this point. I wanted to do another top 10 list because I am super excited about this summer season. It's the best time of year for video games because it is showcase season. And that basically is every company, potentially, maybe except for Nintendo, will show up during the summer and talk about all the games that you should be excited about. I tend to think that people take these things a little too seriously, like that it's like, this company that I love needs to win this summer, and that we need to make sure that these showcases live up to the hype. Otherwise, the company is doomed. Like, man, it's not that serious. We're just learning about video games that will be coming in the future. Like it's fine. We're all, everything's Gucci, everything's fun. And so I wanted to talk about the shows I'm looking forward to. I have a running list of showcases that I know are going to be happening at least in the next couple of weeks. I am recording this, for full disclosure, on May 22nd, which is a Monday, and this will be posted on May 23rd. If there's another showcase that I don't know about, that gets announced and it's not here, that it might be, it's either I'm not that excited about it, or I just don't know that it exists yet. So if that show is not on this list, that's why. I actually have a list of 14 shows here, but we're only going to talk about the 10 that I'm most excited about. And to be fair, two of them are like extensions of like another bigger showcase, which we will talk about. So maybe it doesn't really count. And then like there's just a couple of other like things that I'm like, are these shows that I really care about or not? We won't really address those directly. We're just going to talk about the ones that we're definitely excited about. And so, yeah, I think that's really all I wanted to say. Oh, yeah, and again, we're talking, these are the showcases that are happening in the next month or so. It's not including, I know EA is probably going to end up doing a showcase later in the summer. I think in July or August. I know Annapurna usually does a showcase. We're not talking about those, mainly because I don't think they've been announced, nor do I care about that. I think THQ Nordic as well has a showcase. Not gonna talk about that. Like those are off to the side. They're gonna be their own things later on this year. That I may or may not talk about on content. Who cares? So anyways, I'm just noticing that I have like am I like somewhat opacity? Do I have like an opacity issue going on? Because I feel like my shirt is like see-through. Oh, maybe it might, it might not be opacity. It might be the green screen effect that I have going on. That's okay. That's all right. It's a nice blue shirt here that has that's Bugsnax related. Which unfortunately I don't think Young Horses is working on any, or if they are working on anything, I doubt we're going to hear about it this year. But there's another indie developer that I am super excited about, and it's kind of hinted in the background here. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's get into the list. All right, enough of my ramblings. Let's start with number 10. And the way I'm labeling these is I'm labeling them via game instead of logo, because it's easiest for the current setup that I have. But I'm going to start with number 10, which is a direct that I don't think anyone's really talking about, but they're, I believe, entering their 4th year of doing this type of showcase, which is the Future of Play Direct. Now, this is, as they describe it, a Toonami-style indie showcase, which is like a certain way of presentation in terms of how they are showcasing these games. And I think the first time I watched their showcase was last year. I had not watched the first 2 years, or if I did, it went over my head, or I was not really paying much attention to it. I remember liking it fine, and there's quite a few games that when I look back at this past year of showcases, I was like, oh man, I'm actually like genuinely excited about what's to come of the games that were shown. One of those games is Logonaut, which is not out yet, but it did get a wholesome direct reveal back in 2021, I want to say, and then it showed up in the Future of Play direct, which was I think pretty neat. So then to talk about like what I'm anticipating for that's kind of, it's harder for me to say right now, mainly because I'm sorry, I'm like floating on the screen right now. I'm just trying to adjust my webcam. It's kind of hard to say at the moment. I'm someone who is not like we don't know much about this showcase yet. I mean, in fact, I'm doing this a little early because the PlayStation showcase is like in 2 days from when I'm recording this, and so I'm kind of want to squeeze this in before that showcase airs. We don't know what the full lineup of that showcase yet is. I know that it's supposed to be announced like soon. It may be out by the time you're hearing me talk about this. I just expect a great group of indies. I'm an indie. If you're talking, if I had to be slotted into the type of game that I love indie games because I just feel like they're the most creative, they're the most interesting. I tend to be very just fed up with AAA games because I feel like they all feel so similar to each other. Where I feel like indie games, there's so much more room for creativity, and there's not like this worry about like, oh well, we need to hit these certain standards of budget in order to make these games. Like most of the time these are like one or two individuals who want to make a game that is their vision, and they don't have any stupid CEO that's going to tell them that they can't do it because it won't make money. And so I love indie games, and so the Future of Play Direct is like one of many indie game showcases that are happening in June that I am super looking forward to. But really, I don't have much that I can base it off of, and that's going to be the case for a couple of these showcases here. Let's talk about our first AAA showcase, which is the Ubisoft Forward. I have Assassin's Creed Mirage as the representation here because that's probably what is going to be talked about. We know that Assassin's Creed in general is getting like a huge push by Ubisoft. There was the time, I know that this is kind of reminiscent of a time where Ubisoft really only cared about Assassin's Creed, but it seems like that's going to happen kind of again. But this time with Mirage, it's interesting because from my understanding, and I am in no way, haven't really played any of the Assassin's Creed games, they seem like my kind of game. I like a good stealth game, but some of the most iconic stealth games out there I haven't played, like Metal Gear Solid and Assassin's Creed. Again, maybe it's just the AAA big time video game thing that like everyone already loves it, and so I guess the hipster in me is just kind of like, I don't really care about it. But Mirage is interesting because it's a lot more linear in structure from what I understand. It seems like Mirage in general is going to be a lot more focused versus the current Assassin's Creed structure, which is these massive open worlds, checklist type games, which I also don't really mind the sound of those games, but just from everything that Ubisoft has been around lately, it seems like everyone's kind of sick of that formula, and I can understand that. And I'm excited to see what's new with Assassin's Creed. What is this new experience going to be? And it seems like that game's going to be coming out later this year, and so I'm interested in learning about that. I do know that there's probably going to be some sort of showcase on Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I've never given a shit about Avatar, meaning the Blue People movie, not the cartoon from Nickelodeon. And so I don't really expect to be like wowed by that. Skull and Bones will probably get some sort of gameplay thing. To be honest, the more I think about it, I'm like, what is there to be excited about here? I think, again, it's Assassin's Creed Mirage for me as someone who would love an entry point into the Assassin's Creed franchise, and I feel like that's going to be an exciting thing to see and play. I think that Ubisoft has had the surprise weird title that I would be excited to see more of. And I think like Mirage could be that game that I'm like sold. I'm into it. Like that could be that one title that I'm like I walk away from their Ubisoft Forward and be like, yeah, fuck yeah. But I'm not so sure. By the way, I should be stating Future of Play Direct, our number 10 entry here. Future of Play Direct is going to be Saturday, June 10th at 11 a.m. Saturday has quite a few showcases happening. And then on that Monday, June 12th, is when the Ubisoft Forward is going to be at 1 p.m. These are all Eastern Standard Time. So, worth knowing about that. Alright, let's move on to number 8, back to the indie scene. Let's talk about the Guerrilla Guerrilla Collective. I pulled a game from last year's showcase, which was Shishingo, learn Japanese through photography. This game has yet to come out either, but it's also a game I'm very much looking forward to because I love photography games, and they're like, hey, if I can learn words in a different language and maybe hopefully retain it at some point, that's good. It's good to be well learned in that front. But anyways, this is not about the game. So Guerrilla Collective has had a good history of being a fun showcase. I've enjoyed them. It's from the Mixed team. They've done a variety of different indie showcases. In fact, the Guerrilla Collective is going to have its main big showcase of games on Wednesday, June 7th at 12 p.m. I believe immediately following the Guerrilla Collective are 2 other showcases which are meant to showcase developers that usually get left behind or don't get nearly the platform that they should be getting. Specifically, the showcases are going to be Black Voices in Gaming and Dames for Games, which is obviously Black developers, and I believe Dames for Games is showcasing female developers in the video game space, and which is super cool, and super cool that you're gonna have those showcases because again, those are typically games that are developers that don't get enough of a platform to showcase their work, and so super cool of Guerrilla Collective to be doing that. And so yeah, I love these indie showcases. They do a wide variety of different of indie games. They break it up into genre sections usually, where they do like, all right, here's the action portion, here's the horror portion, here's the cozy wholesome portion. And it's usually just a very good flow to the games. There's not like a one game that runs super long. They do a very good job with pacing overall. I've always been very impressed with Guerrilla Collective. Just today, when I'm recording this, they announced that the lineup is set. They've emailed everyone who has applied for their indie games to be if they could be shown during the Guerrilla Collective. So the lineup is set, but we do not know who is going to be there. We'll see. Again, I have so many games on my Steam wish list. It's wild, and I think there's bound to probably be one game that I already am looking forward to that's going to be in this showcase. But I also expect a wide variety of games that I don't even know about that will end up being on my wish list thanks to a show like Guerrilla Collective. So yeah, very nice. Number 7, another indie kind of showcase. This is a weird one. So Future Game Showcase, I have Tinykin as the representation here because Tinykin, one of my favorite games ever, honestly, but also a game that came out that was shown at the Summer Showcase last year. Tinykin blew me away, but besides that, this is another one of those showcases that has a good variety of both indie games and like AA type size video games as well. I used to be kind of critical of Future Game Show, mainly because I found that a lot of the games that they were showing were very similar to each other. It's kind of how I feel currently about the PC Gaming Show, a showcase that you're not going to see on this list because I just still not the biggest fan of the PC Gaming Show. I'm sure the games that are shown there are going to be great. Just the presentation, the way that showcase usually goes, it's just not my vibe at all. Future Game Show, though, I just think has gotten better with its pacing in terms of like, hey, here's a big old trailer for this game, then we move on to the next trailer, and so on and so forth. And I think that we're getting a better variety of games. I love their show floor that they have, their virtual show floor where they kind of show little snippets of games. I believe all of them have demos that you could play currently on Steam. It's all run by Games Radar in them. So I look forward to this show as just another outlet for me to get more indie goodness, or another game. Like, I know, like, Tiny Kin last year was not. I don't think I learned it from Future Game Show, but that was a game that has been on my radar, and I believe the release date was shown during Future Game Show. Entropy Center was a game I had not heard about before Future Game Show, and I played that, and that's also a really good puzzle game. And so, wide variety of different, video games that are shown, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be another banger lineup. Once again, this is another one that's lacking of information, but typically I think these are like 90-minute showcases, so pretty beefy sized shows as well. Now, it might be a 60-minute one, but we'll see. That is going to be taking place also on Saturday, June 10th at 1 p.m. And the Future of Play Direct and the Future Game Show are like the bread of a nice sandwich, and we'll get to the meat later on Saturday, June 10th. All right, now let's get serious. I would say this was a good start, but the showcases I'm really, really hyped about start right here. Number 6 is the Summer's Game Fest. I have Armored Core listed here just because I'm like, there's a chance it's probably going to be at Summer Games Fest. I mean, Keighley is known for being a massive From Software fan. Many people are, of course. And loves getting something from Software. He had Armored Core in games at the Game Awards. He was the show. He had the show that revealed the release date for Elden Ring. And so it just makes sense that we'll probably get more details on Armored Core at Summer Games Fest. Not a game I'm necessarily super excited about, though. I'm more into the idea of this game than any of the From Software games that have come out in recent years. The ones that are more Soulsborne-esque. Definitely not my vibe. Mechs, maybe a little bit more my vibe. Maybe. Just a tinge. We'll see about that. Anyways, Summer Games Fest is so interesting because it has been, for many years now, trying to be this competitor to E3. It certainly has won that competition, right? Like, considering where we are at now with E3 just basically no longer existing, like, that's not a thing anymore. But I feel like Summer Game Fest is always such a hit and miss, because there's some games. Sometimes you sit through a showcase and you're like, yeah, nothing's hitting for me. Nothing at all is hitting for me. And then sometimes then all of a sudden, like, one game shows up and you're like, boom, that's awesome. I'm super excited about that. And then the showcase continues. You're like, hey, is it really just going to be that one game that I'm looking forward to? Last year was that. It was weirdly, a lot of survival horror games, or weirdly, like, space games. I think it was either horror or space games, maybe a mix of both, that were like the central aspect of Summer Game Fest. And it was it kind of, the fact that was just such the main focus throughout the show was kind of like, okay, like, all right, cool. I'm happy that the space fans out there getting a lot of games to talk about, but I don't. None of this is hitting for me. Then you had Goat Simulator 3 revealed, and I'm like, all right, that's more my shit. Goat Simulator 3, great video game. But, like, and then they ended it with Last of Us multiplayer, which I know a lot of people love Last of Us. I don't give a shit. I could not. Last of Us is like one of those games where I'm just like, I hear it and I just tune out. I'm like, I'm good. Thanks. See you later. So I don't know what this showcase is going to be. I hope it's good. I hope it's exciting. there's a wide variety of studios, just to name a few here: Activision, Annapurna, Bandai Namco, which is why I think Armored Core will make an appearance, Capcom, CD Projekt Red. Probably that's gonna be like Cyberpunk DLC, or maybe I don't know. I doubt that they have something Witcher related already, but we'll see. Devolver, EA, Gearbox, PlayStation, Sega, Square Enix, Steam, Ubisoft, Xbox, and much more than that. Those are just the ones that I personally pulled out as like, oh, okay, this might be really interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of indie stuff, you know. Annapurna and Devolver, those are great indie publishers, but then there's got a lot, and you have a lot of major names in the AAA space as well. We'll see. I just have to sit here and be like, maybe something will hit for me, or maybe it won't. But it's always a fun showcase for those who just follow the game industry, because it's a big one. It's a massive one to watch, because you're going to get a lot of news from a lot of major games. Whether or not you're a fan of those games is another question, but it's no matter what, a major video game event, and that's fun. Now, it's going to be on Thursday, June 8th at 3 p.m. Should it be at a better time? Probably. It most definitely should be at a better time than it actually is. But I digress. It just is what it is right now. But I'm looking forward to it. And I think that Keighley's doing what he can to make it interesting. But he also has to, you know, he also gets a lot of... I don't want to get too mean, but I'm just kind of over Keighley's presence on the stage. I don't feel like I need him to be the host every single time. I don't need him interviewing the developers every single time. I don't mind hearing from the developers, but I'm just kind of like, you have this show for 2 hours. Let's just focus on the games. Let's just keep on showing games back to back, and let's keep a good flow going. Like, do it. I don't know. I guess it's definitely not that type of show, but I just tend to get kind of aggravated with Summer Games Fest. But it's number 6 on this list because there's a lot of potential of what could be there, and that's alone is very exciting. All right, number 5. Let's talk PlayStation Showcase. You may be surprised that PlayStation Showcase is so low on this list. Don't, because for me, we're gonna get indie top heavy. All right, I'm just telling you right now. At the top of this list is gonna be a lot of indie showcases that I'm super hyped about. All right, so we're getting the AAA stuff out of the way here. PlayStation. Where do I start here? I'm excited. I'm so excited for the PlayStation Showcase. I own a PlayStation 5. I'm someone who skipped a generation of PlayStation. I did not have a PlayStation 4. And so playing the PlayStation 5 a couple of months after its launch, and then playing games like Astro's Playroom, and then Bugsnax, and then going back and playing Marvel Spider-Man, Shadow of the Colossus, and God of War 2018, Horizon, then being part of like the release cycle with stuff like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and then God of War Ragnarok. Like those are a lot of those games are some of my favorite games ever. I thoroughly enjoy those experiences. I like the PlayStation. I like the PlayStation ecosystem. But my issue with PlayStation is that they make games that I just tend to feel are a bit similar to each other. In that, a lot of them are these big AAA, tends to be open world action games. I don't vibe with that. I don't get me wrong, I do love Spider-Man. I do love God of War. It's not that I can't vibe with them. I just typically don't. And so when I say, am I excited for what's the PlayStation Showcase is? Yeah, I have excitement about it. I think it's definitely going to be interesting from an industry point of view. No question about that. For a personal point of view, I just look at this and I'm like, I am the guy that is more excited to hear what Team Asobi is doing than what Naughty Dog is doing. That's just the bottom line, and that's just a transition to Team Asobi real quick. Like, I am so excited to hear what they're working on, but if it's a PSVR title, I don't give a shit, and that's kind of a bummer. Like, I just don't like VR, and I've played with the VR a couple of times. I'm just not that enthralled with it, and I feel like it's cumbersome, and I just find it kind of annoying to play. And I would be disappointed if Team Asobi is working a VR title. Not to say that if they like the idea of making a VR title, they should absolutely do so. I am one human being that whose opinion does not matter at the end of the day when it comes to that. I just would personally be like, damn. Like, any excitement for another Astrobot would go out the window if it's like, oh, it's a VR title. It's like, damn. You know, but I want to see something that's going to genuinely surprise me. I'm not going to be surprised when I see Last of Us Factions or Last of Us 3. I'm not going to be surprised when I see Ghost of Tsushima 2. I'm not going to be surprised. Like, I don't know what's going to get me excited at the showcase, but I hope it will. You know what I mean? I know Cory Barlog is working on some sort of game under. I'm guessing it's going to be under Sony Santa Monica. And it's like, it seems like it might be a new IP. I would be interested in that as someone who is a fan of God of War, but I still worry about what the type of game it's going to be. Because if it's just going to be God of War in space, I'm just kind of like, okay, cool, I guess. But like, is that going to be something I'm genuinely interested in? I don't know. There's so many studios where I'm also like, what are they working on? Bluepoint, Bend, Media Molecule after the retirement of Dreams. I was super excited to hear about Pixel Opus and what they were working on, and then they got shut down earlier this month, and that sucks ass, in my opinion. That sucks. Like, that to me is maybe my more broader thing about PlayStation. It's just like, I love studios, especially big-time studios, that take risks. And I feel like I would love to have seen Pixel Opus get the backing of Sony and be able to release a big-time game that is very different from what we are used to seeing in modern-day Sony. I like weird Sony. I like when they go in weird directions. Now, maybe they do that with stuff like Kena Bridge of Spirits, where they have an indie studio, or they have a studio that they just license out to, that they get exclusives for, that are fitting into that weirder mold, that they decide to go into a different direction with other studios, and then have their big time first party studios focus on what they are doing best right now, which is those third person action adventure AAA masterpieces, right? So maybe, I don't know. This is a lot of words for this, to talk about this. In other words, I am so excited to see what the future of PlayStation is, but I'm just worried that it's not going to be all for me. And again, that's fine. That's a very selfish point of view. For everyone else who loves PlayStation, like, it's you probably will walk away from Wednesday and be like, this shit's incredible, and I'm so excited about the future of PlayStation. And that's totally valid and fine. These fluffy cloud top 10 stuff, like, I want to emphasize, this is not me talking from a broad point of view. This is me just talking very personally. These are my personal, like, venting sessions where I get to, talk about these types of, these showcases from a personal point of view. So, I'm just sitting here like, I'm excited, but a little trepidatious, if that makes sense at the same time. But if I walk away with one title from the PlayStation Showcase, and it's a non-VR Astro platformer, I will be like, I would lose my mind. I'd be so excited. That would be like, I'm happy. That immediately that game becomes my most anticipated game yet out of the summer, and I'm just like, I'm pumped. But if it's not that, then I'm like, all right, what do you have for me that has that, like, kind of not knowing is what's kind of concerning for me, but again, not really concerning for PlayStation and PlayStation fans as a whole. So they'll be fine. It'll be a great showcase. But number 4 on this list is the Xbox showcase. And I guess the reason why I have Xbox over PlayStation here is just more the intrigue about Xbox. PlayStation's got its shit together. Xbox kind of in a mess. And I feel like it's going to be interesting to watch what they do with this showcase, what they promise. Because that initial, like, hey, we're going to have all these games that we're announcing today, they're all going to come out within a 12-month period from the announcement of the showcase. That obviously didn't pan out with Starfield. That didn't pan out with a couple of games. Like Forza Motorsport seems like it's not going to be coming out in that time span. Certainly doesn't seem like Hollow Knight's going to be doing so either. Granted, I know people keep on pointing at that, but when they did show that calendar thing, they do those. They release those graphics at the end of the showcase where it's just like, here's what's coming in either late 2022 or early 2023. Hollow Knight was not even on that list, so maybe Hollow Knight was just the exception the entire time. I digress. It was still Broken Promise, right? Like, and that's been kind of the mold of Microsoft, unfortunately, during this year. Hi-Fi Rush, my game of the year thus far, and I am very excited and happy about that. But yes, everything else has been kind of a disappointment. For me, it's a lot of intrigue about what they're going to show, about what the future of the company is. Because it does feel like their asses are on the line. Not Microsoft's fine, like the company is fine. They're $1 billion corporation. It's more so like, if Starfield, let's say, does not hit later this year, will heads roll? And like that's more the intrigue aspect of this. But I'm just curious about all these games that had been announced and what the future of them are going to be. There are a couple that I am kind of interested in. Starfield I am interested in, even though I'm like, I played Skyrim. I beat Skyrim or early last year. And that game I beat because I put the game into God mode where I didn't have to fight anything. And so I was just able to enjoy exploring and fucking around in that world. And not having to worry about combat, and I could just take in the story and stuff like that, and it was a great time. I wonder if I could do the same thing in Starfield, and if that's the case, Starfield is going to be great for me, probably. I'm struggling to think about who else, like what other games they have. Like Fable, I'm kind of interested in. I like light-hearted adventures like that, like things that don't take themselves as seriously. I think Fable would be interesting. I don't know if we'll get that. I know it's been kind of in development hell, that game. Perfect Dark being a first-person shooter, I typically like a single-player first-person shooter game. At least I would be very interested in trying it. But that's another one that's, I think, in development hell. Like, I know everything with Obsidian's very interesting. Like, what the hell is Avowed going to be? What is Outer Worlds 2 going to be? The team that I look at, though, is Double Fine. Double Fine's probably my favorite studio, my favorite developer outside of Nintendo. In terms of the games that would be considered AAA at this point, right? Like, Nintendo, number one, but Double Fine is right under it. I adore Double Fine. I adore so many Double Fine games. Psychonauts obviously is such a huge part of my video game life. But I also love I also enjoyed Broken Age, or at least a little bit of Broken Age. I enjoyed Stacking, which is these are much smaller titles. I know Brutal Legend is beloved as well. I would love to see what they make next, because I think that they are such a creative studio. And by the way, if you haven't watched Psycho Odyssey, the documentary on the making of Psychonauts 2, please do that. I mean, it's long, it's a lot of episodes, but like, if you pace yourself, you can do it. Like, it was such a rewarding watch, and just understanding what it's like to be a game developer, the highs and lows of it all, and really authentic viewing and peek into what it's like to work at Double Fine. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It made me love that team, love the people on that studio, and to me, like, that is a studio I'm like, please let us find out what you're working on, what you're working on next, because like that whatever it is, I feel like I can't wait to try, because I love and respect Double Fine that much as a studio. I just think that they are willing to go against the grain and take on different twists and turns in video games in general, and so I can't wait. And so that's a studio I'm like really looking forward to. Also curious what that Indiana Jones game's gonna be. Like, that's gonna be interesting to me. Like, I know it probably will just be like Uncharted but licensed, but like maybe it won't be. Maybe it will actually be something like relatively creative and interesting. Like, there's just a lot more intrigue for me with Xbox than PlayStation. Again, PlayStation much better shape, in much better shape. This is not me trying to shit on them. But I'm more intrigued to see what the lineup is going to be on Xbox. All right, that was a lot of talking for those two showcases, because I just have a lot of thoughts. But now let's talk some indies. Number 3, Devolver Digital Showcase. Now this is the and not that you guys need to know, but like you probably already know this. PlayStation Showcase is going to be Wednesday, May 24th at 4 p.m. Xbox Game Showcase is going to be at 1 p.m. And after that show is going to be the Starfield Direct. And then a couple days later, on Tuesday, June 13th at 1 p.m. is going to be the Xbox Game Showcase Extended. That was the showcase that I was just like, well, they have like 3 different shows, but they're kind of all like the same thing. Yeah. Anyways, Devolver is the only one that is not formally dated or slated for in terms of a time frame. So I don't know what the future, what in the future when Devolver is going to happen. I know it's probably going to happen during this time period. It seems like they want to do something during this time period. And look, the showcase, the Devolver showcases, you always just kind of, you go there for the vibes of the bizarre shit they want to how they want to present it, in terms of the weird sketches that they have with the fake employees that they have. I mean, they're actors, but like they're paid actors. They're not necessarily fake employees, but you know what I mean. Like, it's that it is the continuing storyline of those of the basically unhinged environment that is Devolver Digital, and like that aspect of of showcase season, getting a Devolver showcases that makes fun of showcases in general, is always a joy, always phenomenal, always weird as shit. And I think for many people the joke has worn thin. I'm not over. I'm cool with it still. I'm still enjoying them just doing their thing and being weird. But anyways, one of the games I'm super looking forward to from Devolver is Plucky Squire. This game just continues to look incredible. And I'm like, I just want more of it, and I want a date. I want to see when this game's coming, because it looks so freaking good. But I'm also looking forward to Gunbrella. I'm looking forward to Pepper Grinder. You know, I know Skate Story. Like, right now, Devolver is entering an era right now where, like, there was definitely like a time, maybe like even as late as last year, where I was just kind of like, you know, Devolver's cool, but I'm not like I don't have a lot of games that I like love from them. This right now, all these games that are coming out, that are going to be coming out soon for them, I'm like, holy shit! Like, I cannot wait for Plucky Squire. I cannot wait for Gunbrella. I cannot wait for Pepper Grinder. Like, I could go on and on. Like, there's so many games and so many titles that I'm like, man, like, Devolver has a really good lineup coming soon. Like, even like Sludge Life 2. Like, who knew that we were gonna get a sequel to that game? A game that's a great like 3D exploration game. That it's just a good time. I don't know. I cannot wait for this showcase on so many fronts. I'm a lot of big time indies are gonna come out of this showcase, and I'm hoping that that they hit at decent times, and that they'll get their due, and that people will enjoy them. I really want Plucky Scar to be good, but of course, all of them I'm looking forward to. So again, it's coming in June. We just don't know what date that's gonna be. All right, number 2 is the Day of the Dev Showcase. Now this comes after Summer Games Fest, so we know that Summer Games Fest is gonna be 3 p.m. on June 8th. 3 to 5 p.m. and so 5 to 6 is Eastern time is when the Day of the Devs will happen. Now, Day of the Devs was my favorite showcase of last year. It had a lot of great indies that I was super looking forward to. I forget whether or not they ended up hitting or not, or even if they came out or not. But regardless, they just have a very, very solid lineup every single year of great indies to look forward to. This year is the most excited I've been about a showcase in a while. And granted, I know I say that and it's number 2 on this list. But I think the only reason for that is because of one game. And that is the game coming from the developer now known as Wishes. Now, you may not know Wishes, but you may know the name Greg Lobanoff. And if you still don't know that, you may know Greg's games, which are Chicory: A Colorful Tale and Wandersong. If you still don't know, fine, I can't help you anymore. But those 2 games are 2 of my favorite video games of all time. Chicory, top 10, easy. Wandersong is just among my favorite video games. I absolutely adore the vibes of these games, the highs, the lows that you go through in the adventure, the gameplay mechanics. They're just always colorful, delightful experiences, quite literally with Chicory, where you're literally coloring in a lot of the game. But anyways, they just hit on a writing front, they hit on a gameplay front. They are just bangers. And I cannot wait, because apparently at Day of the Devs this year, Wishes, which is now the development team that makes up Greg and more of his of the people that he's always worked with with these games. I cannot wait to see what Wishes is working on. That to me is just holy shit, whatever this is going to be one of my most anticipated video games. It's not I probably shouldn't do this, but I put this team on a pedestal right next to Toby Fox in terms of whatever you make, I'm here for at this point. I want to play your video game no matter what. And so the fact that we're going to get that for during Day of the Devs, which is Day of the Devs is actually a much different paced showcase in the fact that these are extended showcases of a lot of a group of 15 games usually. These are longer. You get a deep dive with the dev and you get a deep dive into the gameplay. I'm so excited that we're gonna get this through Day. I'm excited we're gonna get this announcement in the Day of the Devs format, because I want that deeper dive into whatever they're working on next. I know I just spent a lot of time talking about them, but we're also going to get news on Henry Halfhead, which is a game that I've been looking forward to. Hyper Light Breaker, many people love Hyper Light Drifter. That's going to be the sequel to that. And then Cocoon, which is some of the devs from Inside. They are working on this game, and Cocoon looks great. I'm looking forward to that as well. And I believe there's some others. I don't know all of them, but I am super, super excited to see what happens with it. And then let's just go ahead, transition to my number 1, and that is the Wholesome Direct. Surmount is going to be there. The game from Wishes is also going to have another debut there. So is Smushy Come Home, Henry Halfhead again, Maniko's Night Market, Townseek, Venba, Wooden Weather, Karmazoo, Botany Manor, A Little to the Left, and many more. Those are just the games on my wish list. I purposely pointed out those games because I'm just like, these are all the games that I am super looking forward to. But like, there's also a ton more that are probably gonna be revealed. We know that it's gonna be 70 plus games showcased in an hour time. That's gonna take place on June 10th at 12 p.m. So basically, on June 10th, you're gonna have at 11 a.m. You're gonna have the Future Play Direct, 12 p.m. the Wholesome Direct, 1 p.m. Future Game Show. That's a banger lineup. That is the most excited. That's the day I am most excited about. I think that even though like I'm not like incredibly high on Future Game Show and incredibly high on Future Play Direct, those showcases tend to have games that I'm looking forward to. But then you're gonna have the Wholesome Direct, which for me hits every freaking year. Wholesome Direct, if you do not know, obviously based off the title, you can guess these are games that are considered in the cozy department, in the wholesome department, the ones that make you feel good. And it is worth noting that wholesome doesn't mean that the whole game is just toxic positivity. They make it very clear that like there's a lot of these games are going to have a much positive vibe, but they may also deal with very serious issues, and that's not something that's going to be completely ignored. Maybe the negative stuff won't be shown during the showcase, but certainly the games that are shown may not shy away from that. I'm pretty sure games like Chicory, which has a very serious message about mental health and imposter syndrome, that was not. I'm pretty sure Chicory was in the Wholesome Direct, and they didn't focus on those aspects. but granted, I don't think they necessarily shy away from it either. It's just meant to be like, hey, do you like games that generally you're gonna feel good about, and while also potentially confronting some darker themes here and there? Then this is the showcase, and this is my vibe. This is my bag. I am so excited for the Wholesome Direct every year. Even when my only criticism for Wholesome Direct is that there's times where they do so many fucking farm games. I'm not a farm game guy, and so it gets a little annoying when that's all they show. But I know that there's so many games that I just talked about here that I'm super looking forward to, that if they want to show farm games around this group of games that I've already named, then I'm chill. I'm cool with that. I'm super excited. I want the world for the Wholesome Direct. I want this presentation and the people who work behind to get all the love and praise of the world and all the platform that they deserve. I cannot wait for the showcase. I can't wait for the Day of the Devs. Can't wait for Devolver. I can't wait for all these showcases. I love June. I really hope that you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble about the 2023 showcases. And will I do a follow-up to this talking about my reaction? We'll see. I think the best thing I can say is that if you listen to my podcast, The Game Coop, which you can get on Spotify and Apple and anywhere you get your podcasts for the most part, you'll hear our June episode typically is about our most anticipated games. You'll hear what games I'm most excited about. I'm not gonna sit here and litigate showcases, though. I don't think, I did a little bit just now, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, well, this showcase was great and this showcase sucked ass. I'm not. That's just not what I'm doing here. I'm just saying this is what I'm excited about. These are the shows I'm looking forward to. I don't really care about anything else. I don't need anything. I don't need to do a deep analysis as to why a showcase was so good and so bad. So I'll talk about the games out of those showcases, because that's ultimately what matters. And again, if you want what games I'm most looking forward to in the future, whether they get talked about during the summer or not, you should go to the Gaming Coop podcast and look for our June 2023 episode. It's gonna be a great time. But with that, folks, thank you all so much for watching. I don't know if I'll do another video soon. Maybe you'll get a Planet of Lana playthrough. Maybe. I know Planet of Lana is coming out tomorrow when I'm recording this. it will be today when I upload this, most likely. So I'm looking forward to seeing if Final Fauna is good, and maybe showcasing it on the channel. But we'll see. I'm not like that's. I am not concrete about that just yet. But we'll see. Anyways, folks, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.